Hi guys, welcome to Idea Drop. I hope your week has been going as swimmingly as ours has. I am in the hot Pennsylvania summer, and it's really humid and gross, and I have no AC. Kendall is in the hot Reading summer, and coincidentally, he also has no AC. So what you're going to see today is a delusional, and it's going to be rough, but we're going to give it to you. Kendall, how are you today?
A couple sweaty dudes just bumbling around.
That's
on
what
camera.
I always do.
So my AC should get fixed today. Turns out, so I spent $13,000 on this system last year, and it's 5 mini splits. I don't know if you know what mini splits are, but essentially the installer, who I've made a terrible mistake. He worked for himself. He was a solo guy. His business was just he, himself, and he. He did not do the flare fitting right on one of the Freon connection points to one of the units. So I've been leaking Freon all year, not knowing it. And so here we are, the hottest summer of the summer, the hottest week of the summer. And I think we even had the hottest day on record in human history. Did you see that?
I believe it.
I saw something flash by that made that claim. And if that's true, that's insane. But yeah, just a casual 110, 111 degrees in our city, and no AC.
Wait, did you call the guy? Say, hey, buddy, come back and fix what you didn't fix?
No, because it's warranted for the units. It's not warranted for service. And I don't want the guy who broke it to be the one to fix it, because if he screws up again, I'm in the same boat next year. And the dude's probably cash poor, so the chances I can get money out of him are extremely small. And I hate wasting my time on chasing down getting money from people who messed up. I don't do returns. I never send things back. I don't call when something's broken or under warranty. To me, my time is so much more valuable if I put it into a positive growth something than it is trying to repair a thing. It's just a personal bent I have.
I don't know. $13,000 might be enough for me to pick up the phone.
It's not $13,000. It's going to be like $800 or something. It's a fix, and I don't want that guy to come do it. So I look at it as like I would be spending hours getting together $800. I would much rather keep those hours at work, moving forward, growing things.
Okay, well, that's fine. That's good.
Bigger fish to fry.
Yeah, it is definitely better to think of things that you can do to move forward versus things you can do to repair the past. It's a nice, pretty sentence, and not always true, but it feels better. You know what I mean? Let's move to the next. Onward and up. Okay, my friend, I have 3 ideas for you today. Would you like to hear my parent idea? Would you like to hear my cafe idea? Or would you like to hear my app idea? 2 of those things.
Which one's the worst? The cafe and the app one sound terrible. So let's start there.
Okay, that's great. Here it is. So you're a parent. I'm not a parent. So I cannot speak to this directly. But this app involves parenting. Here's what I see a lot. I see a lot of people having this fancy app that can track everybody's location at all points in time. That feels a little bit invasive to me. And I just don't.
For what age? For what age are we talking?
Let's say your teenage son, your teenage daughter,
sure.
Anybody like that, right? It feels a little bit invasive. But what if there was an app that you just set up on your phone, you don't even touch it, and if you call this person and they don't pick up for 3 times, then it pings you their location.
Oh.
No matter where they are. So it's not like...
It's a compromise.
It's a compromise because nobody likes being watched at all points in time. Yeah. It doesn't feel good. I don't like it, right?
Sounds like a cool feature and a terrible business.
Yeah? Okay, tell me why.
You're never going to make money off that. I cannot think of a single way to make money off of that.
Sell the app, just like... what's the other one? There's a popular one, right? The 360 or something like that? Life 360? I don't know.
I just... You can't make revenue from selling the app on the App Store. It doesn't really... You don't get enough downloads. You're talking tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands at the most. And that's just not enough. You have a $1.8 million opportunity on your lap, but it's going to cost you hundreds of thousands of dollars to maybe get a 3x return of revenue, not profit. So
so bad idea. Is there anything I could do to make it a good idea?
I mean, Apple should give us that feature. It's a feature. It's a wonderful feature.
I know.
Yeah, you call an engineer or product manager at Apple or Google and be like, hey, this would be sweet. We need it. I don't know. You could make a fake video off of and pretend that it's real, and you air that video, and maybe you make a Kickstarter, and then you just keep all the money and you never make it. No, that's bad. Don't do that.
I don't know about that one.
Don't do that.
But
this is not investment advice.
Okay, that's good. That's good. All right, I agree. It's a bad idea. No, it's a fun idea, but it's a bad way to make money. Idea. It'd be very, very difficult to make money that way.
I had an AI parenting. I had something similar. We're vibing. So,
okay.
I would just call this AI parenting, and it is a ecosystem. This is more like the business model would more be you buy into an ecosystem or trainings with tools. What do they? I don't even know what we call that type of stuff. But if you buy the Dave Ramsey stuff, you get the curriculum, you get the ebooks, you get the little tools. He recommends you an app. It's like a whole ecosystem, right? It's a platform. I think a lot of people would call it. So
the modern tech parent, you're thinking?
Yeah, the modern parent platform. But I feel like AI can do such a good job of summarizing my kids, the things that can be measured. So I get these like report cards, I think 3 times a year from their school, right? Very easy for me to just take a picture and have them scanned. AI could be interpreting that for me and reporting back, but it would be age-based. It knows that my 11-year-old has something different going on in his brain. So I want to get some neuroscience, some parenting tips, some relative scores. Here's how he's doing against, the other students in the nation, or the averages in math seem low. Here's some tips on how to close that gap. He should be studying this. Here's some ideas what you could do. So I feel like I could buy into an ecosystem once a year and be getting access to the advice, the tips, the trainings, the tools.
How does it track your kids?
In the example I just said, you would take the picture of their reports.
Just that. I feel like there could be more.
Right. The other ones I wrote down are their mobile phone data. That's not hard. Right. Their screen time. So if you have, like I use an Apple TV or use an Amazon Fire Stick or whatever you're using. So reports on those types of things. You'd have to API integrate it with the regular things that they're doing. And you could also just answer, a lot of them are like answer a survey question once a day, or you log. I mean, think about what we do for diet planning. I care a lot more about my kids than I care about my diet. I would go, Sam did this and he did not do this today. And you just throw it in. But the beautiful thing about AI is it skips the need for perfect data, which is probably why this doesn't exist yet. So this probably does exist. It's just not well marketed because it's a bad business idea unless you find that right, business model. So there'd have to be content. You'd have to be helping parents understand, and you would be continuously rolling out new things you could measure or ask advice for. But it's essentially a parenting co-pilot, right? And I think you would have, you wouldn't have to track perfect data. It can guess and summarize without perfection. So it takes the pressure off the parents. A couple $100 a year, maybe $130 a year, something like that.
So I'm a parent. I buy this app because I want to understand my little junior.
And I want recommendations.
At the end of the year, it says, hey, he's doing great at this. He's shining there. It seems like he could use this. Also, based off his health data, I don't think he's getting enough exercise per his age group.
Here's some doctors in your area, or here's some supplements he could be taking, or hey, here's
some creative outdoor sports. Maybe you could enroll him in, or something like that, so it doesn't feel like exercise.
In your area, right? So Bard can be used to look stuff up. So just it essentially is proactively sending me some alerts and saying, hey, Chloe just turned 9. So here are some books that she might be into based on the last 5 series you said she read and enjoyed. Or I say, she didn't enjoy that series. Is there, it's updating, it's learning on my kid.
Okay. I like it. I don't think I would buy it as a parent because I spend all my time just researching naturally. I just love it. I love Googling things, but I bet you there are some people who don't do that. But the threshold of getting the people who don't continually learn to try to find a app that does it for them, that might be a difficult thing to sell. This would be a very hard
the
product
people
to do.
That don't continually learn. I think you're just more aiming it at one problem at a time. So there's there's going to be 30 different onboarding paths from a marketing perspective. So if I am disappointed in my kids' grades, that's the moment that I start going to town looking for help. If I start wondering, gosh, what other book series are out there that are age appropriate, but also kind of beneficial, not just frying your brain. There's, hey, this kid's taking off in science, but I'm really dumb in science. I need some help guiding that. I think looking up things doesn't really help much because the internet isn't really trustworthy. But AI is kind of guidance oriented. It's casually being here are some ideas. It's just throwing out ideas related to my pain point. The pain point today could be this kid has a flu and I don't know what to do. Right?
Man, I'm hesitant on it because AI is still driven by the internet, right? So it's still going to use similar SEO tools. It's going to look up websites. It's going to learn in that sense, right? The new stuff.
It's going to summarize, though.
Pardon?
It's going to summarize so much better than
but it's still susceptible to the same trash that we are. So if 30 famous TikTokers blast this one thing out and it's picked up by other 30 famous TikTokers, it doesn't matter if it's true. It's just loud. And so
massive difference. In AI, you can go, I don't like that. And then it gives you it learns. It's okay. They don't like this type of TikTok trash. Mm-hmm. So that's very different because you rerun the same Google search, then you get the same results. It's not learning.
Okay. Okay. This would be, I have no idea how I would start this business. How would you start this business?
Just like this. I have recordings, content. I would talk about the problems specific problems we started having this year with these kids. And here's how we've been using I would tell the narrative. We've been using ChatGPT to get recommendations for free. And we're excited to announce our recommendations engine as well as our content series on improving young engineers. And then here's a young artists. Here's a sports enthusiast kids guidance program. You announce it like a platform. So if you interweave between the trusted content and AI recommendations, I'm pretty sure it's going to drive curiosity. You don't have to charge people right away. You just charge them. You make it, freemium. Get them using some core basic part of it that doesn't cost you much to provide. Build a good brand, and then let them buy the add-ons or packages.
Okay. Can I pitch you an idea of a much more low stakes kind of?
Yeah. Hell yeah.
This is an app. I just thought about this. I want my kid to learn. My kid wants to be on the web. He wants to do all this stuff. It's just an app that in order to unlock whatever device they're doing, they have to answer a question related to school. So it's like, here's your math question. Every time you open it up, you got to answer it. You just got to answer it. It's just a little tiny question. You can change the difficulty, change whatever subject it is. Yep. So it's just, if you want to get on your computer, please go ahead. And then every 30 minutes, you have to answer another one. You have to answer another one, and you have to answer
to
right
stay
there.
online.
Mm-hmm.
Auto logs you out. Yeah, that's cute. Yeah, I like that.
I would maybe do that for my kid who would do that. Okay, I have another parenting idea for you, Kendall. I saw this. I will give credit where it's due. Some guy on Reddit was posting about it, and I thought this is a great idea. I have never taught a kid how to. I don't know how to potty train anything. Cats, dogs, kids,
plants.
I'm imagining it's not easy. So what if there was a resort that the parents go to? It's a 1-week resort, and you bring the kids, and it's just a parenting resort, as in those kids will be potty trained while you are having your resort experience. And obviously you interact the whole time.
Oh
But
my gosh.
it's just they're helping you with that portion of parenting. It's like your potty train retreat. And then, maybe there's other parenting 1-week retreats you could do there as well.
That's kind of hilarious.
Think about it. It's a vacation for you and your wife, and your kid's going to learn something out of it. And I imagine it's probably difficult to go to resorts with kids, not knowing what to do with the kids while you're at the resort doing whatever you're doing, right? You're a parent. Tell me what you think.
I mean, this is why Disney Cruise exists.
Oh, yeah, that makes sense.
Maybe this works as like a camps type of business model where it retreats, I don't know that potty training is the right window of time to hit the parents within, but I would imagine there are 10 other things just like that. I mean, we're talking 2.
They're pretty young.
Yeah, you're also like, think about your customers. So that is so you're limited to the purchase of, let's say, parents. So right there, we lost 70% of the market. Then we're limited to the window of time where the parents have a 2-year-old who is not potty training easily or well. And so we've lost, divide it by, 20 times 2. So divided by 20, but multiply it by 2 because maybe we're having 2 kids. So divide it by 10. So we now have 3% of the market that we can address with this. Now they need to have enough money to be able to pay for a retreat. So let's call that the upper 10 percentile of earners can afford to get away. Now we have to have a time in work for an upper earner to be able to get away. And this has to be the vacation you choose. So it's a fraction of a fraction of a fraction of a fraction. And maybe if you had 10 shots on goal of different things like potty training, those niches could be well marketed. And all you have to do is fill up 200 parents for the weekend. And you do this retreat style maybe not resort style, but at a resort, you could book out, a portion of the hotel rooms and do it around inflection points and learning. That could be a cool brand. You just, after you do all that work to get a fraction of 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 the market, then you want to keep your customer. So you're going to need to add on little readers camp, or math tutor camp, fix the broken foundations in their mind and stretch the best parts of their brain. Classical piano. There's probably
that's a difficult week thing.
Yeah, but the kickstarts for these things.
Sure.
It's an interesting thing because the pain point's real. It's very hard to get away with the kids when they're young.
Okay, so let's say, what if we change it around? I own a resort, and I hire 1 to 3 experts with children, and they just calendar out through the year. They're all teaching different life skills, or it's different age groups or something like that. And so parents who want to come to the resort, they can also bring their kids, and they have kind of like the summer camp for kids, but the kids are benefiting educationally or life skills wise, something like that.
Yeah. I mean, learning. Wow. I mean, creative learning. There, that's a premium.
Like little robotics for kids or something like that. Something cool.
Yeah, exciting. Robotics class. I think that's cool, especially in a post-COVID era where remote work makes a lot of sense. I wouldn't see the resort owners doing this. I would see independent parties leasing out,
booking out the resort.
Yeah, I just think your incentives are more in a structured finance, real estate, like boring type of business.
I could see maybe the resort owners doing it because they obviously already have to accommodate for childcare at a resort. So if they instead say, okay, we're just going to hire, instead of a bunch of teenagers, we're going to hire a bunch of teenagers, but one expert that can organize the whole thing and make it, awesome. So they put that one person on salary, right? So that's an expense, but then they also do get more people
it's
instead
just
of
vision and marketing for it too. So like
Really?
there's just the marketing itself is one of the hardest things about this. Otherwise, like I don't know, when we go to like a gym that has good childcare, those childcare workers are so underpaid, overworked. It's a locked door system. It's not creative. They're not getting in new resources. They have like crayons and paper and TVs and a playground and some Legos and like
and like a teenager on their phone the whole time.
yeah, right. The 13-year-old sits in the corner and then all the little kids play and make messes and poop and pee. So I think that it just takes a lot. I mean, we're talking about something more like my kids are in summer school right now and they're doing these types of themed classes. Or when I grew up, like the local college through these type, I did like 2 weeks of cooking class and 2 weeks of sewing class. And those types of things already exist, but they're more in like a specialty teacher setting. And so it seems like more infrastructure than it's probably worth, unless this was your business and you were really good at charging a premium for this. You know, it seems like a marketing heavy business to me.
Fair point. Good news. I don't want to start this business. That sounds terrifying. So we'll just pass on that one.
I have 2 businesses that I do want to start.
Okay, hit me.
How about pickleball? Do you play pickleball? Have you?
No. I think it's a bit of a cult, but I respect.
Yeah, it is a cult. It's the fastest growing cult in the West.
Yeah.
So I have really enjoyed the pickling, and I have come to appreciate why other people are appreciating it. It's because it's extremely social and it brings together all the racket sports players. So everything from badminton to, handball, which is not a paddle, to obviously table tennis and tennis. Like people come together and they come from a bent, and it's very social. It's mostly free in a lot of cities. They've made this a public service. I would want to do the Top Golf for pickleball. It is already this thing that has a social bent to it. In theory, the amount of Top Golf space that you need, the acreage you need, is much reduced if you're playing a game where the balls don't go as far and everybody can have a paddle and you don't even need as much swinging space to make these mini games. But you would create these mini games for these people, the challenges, right? The nets that bring you the ball back, just like in bowling, a ball comes back to you on a track. But it's a drinking social thing. You pay to get in, you get, have you done Top Golf?
No, I haven't. I've tried to go like 3 times and it's always booked.
It's so much fun. If you like the people you're going with, it is so much fun because you're basically renting out table space for you guys to all hang around, and people are bringing you drinks and snacks while you have a game to play, and you take turns. So you're not getting tired. Like you're laughing. I'm watching my wife learn how to drive it. Now we want to drive it over here to the far right corner, and she's getting points on some digital screen.
Okay, can I cut in here real fast? I love this idea. I see one glaring issue, but I don't think it's an unbeatable issue. You never went to college. I did. In college, there's this interesting thing that you do, and it's you drink a lot. There's this one time in college, I had to drink and run a mile. So you'd run a lap, chug a beer, run a lap, chug a beer. Yikes. You know what you find out really fast? You throw up. You just throw up. It's gross. It's the worst thing on earth. It is not fun to be physically exhausted and drink beer. You want water.
Correct.
So Top Golf is great because swinging a golf club, it's not gonna fatigue you that hard. Pickleball, I imagine, is gonna fatigue you pretty hard. So you're gonna have a bit of a barrier to entry there. Now, I don't play pickleball. Is it not? Is it not hard?
No.
Can you kind of like mosey about and still play?
Yeah. So when you're on a court, it's a 2v2 game, and I play regularly with 70-year-olds and 80-year-olds, and there's a guy who's 92 who plays at our courts.
Whoa.
So that's the level of cardio that you're talking about, and that's even when you're in a pretty like
So
like
there's
we're just
moments
going to try
of-
to beat each other game.
Just
But if
moments of flash, but nothing.
yeah, I mean, if you play singles pickleball in rated tournaments, that's a different thing entirely. But but that's not the Top Golf model. Top Golf model takes golf, which is actually a physically somewhat demanding sport because you're walking for miles, and it's in the sun, and you can absolutely dehydrate in golf, and people still drink. But the Top Golf model is, kind of indoor, outdoor, air conditioned. You've kind of got the big fans. You've got a big canopy. You're hitting out into some like shared open space. So with the pickleball thing, it's more about hitting targets. So think about dartboards that are coming by your booth, and you have a paddle, and you're trying to serve the pickleball to hit a dartboard, and you get points. These things that are like still the things you would drill and practice in pickleball, so that people don't complain too much about the lack of competitiveness. And you make the mini gamification this thing. And then, people eat and drink. And that's where the revenue really comes from.
In Topgolf, do they have other things there as well? Like if you go to the lobby, is there a pool table? Is it
Not really, no.
No, nothing like that.
No, so you walk in, and it's a center. I'm trying to think of the closest thing. Think of like a small mall that's 2 stories. If there was a very small mall that was actually still 2 stories, I think a lot of Top Golfs are actually 3 stories. And it was open air. So you've got all the common nice space, the nicer dining, the nice bar, where you get your clubs, where you check in, where you pay. That's all in the center. But the ring around it is all facing grass outwardly. So we all hit balls out. So they can use so much of their footprint because nobody's out there that you're going to hit with the balls. That's all automated collection. And then there's TVs next to you in your outdoor area. So when I played, it felt like, I don't know.
Dude, I always imagine it's like going to a karaoke bar and a driving range at the same time. So in a karaoke bar, you've got nice TVs, you've got whatever you want. And then people just come in, bring you whatever you order. You literally just order on an iPad and somebody brings drinks, food, all of it, no matter what. And you just stay as long as you want.
And people are bad at golf. People are really bad at golf. So then that might be funny. So that maybe there's a part of like
it's a safe place to be bad at golf, though. Have you ever tried? If your friend asks you to go golfing and you haven't golfed before, you always say no. Yeah, but this you don't say no to. You just say, I'm pretty bad at that. It sounds fun.
That's right. Yeah.
Low stakes.
So, and maybe that's helping with the marketing on Top Golf. I don't know. But with pickleball, I would imagine you could have some of the same dynamics. But people aren't going to be as bad. So think about it this way. Think about a pitching machine shooting wiffle balls at you. And your job is to hit them back into certain parts of a net that's going to catch that ball, but the computer is going to register. So that sounds fun. It pitches at you, you smash that ball back, and you try to hit the upper left corner or whatever it is, or straight center, and you get points relative to that. But they're moving in real time, and we're watching you while we're drinking. And then it gets faster and faster and faster. You start getting pelted with wiffle balls.
Yeah, which is not painful. That part of the technology seems like it might be a little bit hard.
No.
So I would be how to get a moving target so that
it's easy. It's not cheap. It's not cheap, but it is easy. This stuff already exists. So the way that Top Golf, the average Top Golf business, last time I looked it up, I think it was $30 million to build the average one. Yeah, and they're pretty big facilities. But their revenues are incredible. They weren't giving that information away publicly, but if you call to talk to their franchise department, then they will absolutely give you that information to sell you. And so what will happen is a lot of boutique lenders will lend like 60% of that cost of construction. So you might be able to get 20 million of that 30 paid for in creative ways, and you got to come up with that 10. And so what will happen is you'll have like a group of 5 doctors all pitch in 2 million, and they'll start a Top Golf in their area. I think the pickleball version of this could be done for 10 million instead of 30 million and still do it really nice and do it really well, still have the technology. It's just a smaller footprint, less engineering, similar robotics and computer costs. Yeah. Anyways,
I feel like you could do it cheaper.
Of course you can. Yeah, but should you?
Have you ever heard of McMenamins?
No.
So McMenamins is one of the greatest things on planet Earth, and it lives in Portland. Maybe it's other places. Oh no, there are a few in other places. There's one in, I think it's in Bend, Oregon. Anyways, it's kind of an adult playground. What they do is they renovate old buildings, so like old schools. So you go into this old school, and there's a cigar room, there's a whiskey room, there's a pool table room, things like that. This fits right inside of that model.
Yeah, that's
and
true.
There are old schools for sale. It's for sure a thing that's going to be. And you know what? There's going to be soon on the market, probably a bunch of really fancy churches that nobody wants to buy. You could use this type of thing to fill that space. And oh my gosh, I would go to that all the time, especially if there was variety like that.
That's true. It'd be cool to add some variety to it. It does add operational complexity and therefore cost.
True. So true.
So sometimes scaling the simple thing is better, which is alcohol and pickle balls.
Mm-hmm. But have you been to basically like a country club? You go out there, you do your golf thing, and then you go inside and you sit at the bar. It's nice, right? So
I know, it does
if you could just have those two things, so your pickleball courts or whatever it is, and then there is the option of just go to the bar.
That sounds really nice as a consumer, but the business lesson here is
niche down.
Well, no, the bar seating doesn't turn over as much as a whole group leaving at the same time and getting 8 more people at the exterior table. So if you serve people at where they're playing, if you think about it, from a money perspective, people aren't really there to play pickleball the whole time. They're there to hang out, talk, and the monetization part of that is, do you want another drink, right? Or do you want some, garlic fries? The moment you open up square footage inside, you just don't have quite the tabletop turnover per hour or per square foot. And so you start adding cost of construction and decreasing revenue per square foot. And so I think that's why Topgolf has been a breakaway hit.
So you make really good points. You make extremely good points. You add a lot of complexity. So these country clubs, all that stuff, they have banquets, they have events. So you lose all the ability to do anything like that. Nobody's going to throw their senior prom there. That's not going to happen.
Nope.
But you do get...
They could come after prom, right?
Yeah.
So you can say
it's
after prom, you come with 8 people and you take an exterior table and 1 or 2 of you are getting to hit at a time. Just like a driving range.
Okay. I like it. I think it's a fun idea. It would be very, very difficult to start for anybody who doesn't have access to a lot of investors. So that's
brings me to my next segment, Dustin.
Okay, hit me.
I'm glad that you brought that up. Okay. I literally, obviously we don't really monetize Idea Drop. We just do it and we like it and we get tertiary benefits. But one of the reasons why there aren't lots of great shows, there's not a great show out there for every little topic. Or the ones that are out there are done by people with way too much time on their hands. So they could be better. They could be done by more expert people. Is time. It takes a lot of time to do this shit. And you know what solves that is money. If someone will give you money, you'll give something time. So I was thinking, what is the podcast that would monetize better than any other podcast? What is that? And here's what it is. Money Buckets Podcast. This is the podcast where we dig into how to get money in a million ways. So I wrote a short list off the top of my head. We've got government loans. There are different types of programs. Bank lending, angel investment, VC investment, and how do those networks work? What is the state of angel investing right now? Private family offices. There are public trading leverages that you can build into. There's boutique private equity firms. There's SaaS subscription lending. There is invoice factoring. There's probably guidance on family loans. Like what if just Uncle Billy wants to give you a loan, but you both kind of feel weird about it. You need some information to kind of like broker that between you and your family. There's real estate lending programs. There's vehicle loans. There's grants and bonds from government. There are capital infusions like the COVID era ones that the government, that the Senate approved, and we just infused into all these places. Who can interpret where all that money went? Because it stands to reason, you just have to go open up a normal business in that little sector that just got drowned in $100 billion new dollars that didn't exist yesterday. And it's not like lightning needs to strike for you to start making revenue. There's basically all these insider paths. And in any one of these industries, how to get capital is also like a protected thing. But then people within the industry get extremely confident in like, oh yeah, when we get there, we'll get $10 million. Mm-hmm. You see it all the time and you're like, damn, he's got a big dick or something. Like, why does that guy just believe that he's going to get 10 million when he needs it? It's because he knows something you don't know. He knows the incentives in the industry of how money transfers and why. So I actually think this podcast could take on insider guests who just want to talk, because they're not really giving away anything that's actually secret. It's just, well, this is how funding works in our sector. In investment banking, you've seen Suits. You've seen Suits, right? Remember when Mike Ross goes to investment banking and he kind of betrays the law firm for a little period of time?
I dropped off after season 2.
Okay. All right. Well, he leaves for investment banking, and there's this whole drama about how much more money investment bankers make than top lawyers in New York. Investment banking is essentially negotiating advanced financial models that a 26-year-old right out of college can do from a lot of colleges in the U.S. But the negotiating and knowing how that applies to think about it like a real estate agent on two sides, and they're arguing over terms, but they create money from nothing by forcing mergers, not forcing, but doing mergers, and they're the broker of big mergers or acquisitions or exchanges. That can all be explained.
Okay, I want to stop you there. So if I want to buy a house, I go listen to a podcast on buying a house, right? If I want to learn how to...
No, you listen to our episodes.
Yeah, well, I listen to our experts that we talk to. We have several of those. But you're saying the one-stop shop of this is how you get money for all these different angles.
Correct.
And it would have to involve the interplay between them. Yeah. It would have to involve the interplay in between them, saying this is how you do it this way. But also... you could go this direction.
Yeah,
because there is the big problem I always run into is like, I could go that direction, but this podcast isn't covering the alternative option and what could be better suited for this circumstance. I like it. I really
think
like
about
it.
how easy. So the number one advertisement. So like one way to index how much money is paid out in ad revenues in certain industries is just to go to Google and go to some keywords and key phrases and start to bid for phrases. So let's say I want to bid for get a credit card. It is a pretty expensive bid. Why? Because someone else is willing to pay Google quite a bit of money for that person's eyeballs. Lots of people are.
Okay,
Same thing with home mortgages, home loans. So sometimes when you Google something, 8 of the 10 search results will be ads, because Google is just making tons of money from the people who will play. Those types of lenders and money providers and liquidity providers, they are what I would call like a no vision or low vision stuffy business. They do not have an easy path to market to get more customers, unless they just go buy ad space and earn trust, and they're the right place, right time, which is why we all still get solicitation offers in our mailboxes, in physical snail mail, because they're just hoping that 1 month when you're in a tough spot, that'll be the month that you take their cash advance. That's how much it's worth it to these lenders to get your attention. That tells me there is tons of capital in the marketing budgets of all those people to pay for a well-attended podcast, a well-listened to podcast in their sector. But you also could be fair. You could spread it across all these different types.
Bro, you would monetize it really well. A lot of
Really
people would spend
easy.
tons of money on that, right? If we assume, and I think this is a safe assumption, you can tell me if I'm wrong, but on every company, half of their budget is sales and marketing. Like they're putting money right there.
Mm-hmm. Any
half,
growth,
it's a generous
any growth
portion.
company, modern tech-based growth companies put something like 40 to 60% of their
so
budget into sales and marketing, which includes salaries. So, but it's just an easy way to understand, like
that there's budget for this, and people will pay to put ears in that direction.
And it's not hard to get like the revenues of a company either. So you could look up a company and go, like you could just Google a lot of companies, and there will be some news article, press release, something that tells you roughly like customer count and how much customers pay, and they'll estimate revenue. Well, then you can look at, on LinkedIn, they put 55% of their headcount into sales and marketing.
Yeah.
And you can just get to like, they're dropping $38 million roughly a year on sales and marketing. So,
well, Kendall, I like this idea so much. Should we do it? Should we do this with
this
our
time
podcast?
next week? Money buckets.
We're changing.
Welcome back to another episode.
It'd be fun. We could
Buckets.
actually just have that be the B part of the podcast, because it's
we could.
We
could do the lending segment, and that could be where our ad revenue comes in if we do a good job.
Yeah, certainly. So
let me give a teaser.
Please.
So,
please give me
I'm re-listening to the All In podcast from the All In podcast. Okay, they started at the beginning of COVID. That's how those billionaires got together and started doing that podcast. And for a lot of people, they talk. It's very interesting because they're responding with credible opinions to current events. I'm listening to it from the last 3 years current events perspective, knowing like I know the future. So it is extremely interesting for me to go back and listen to their candid thoughts in real time of, the Wuhan, what is it? I'm so bad. The virus came out of, it's Wuhan, right?
I think so. I couldn't say for sure.
Okay.
But yeah.
You're so bad too. So like that COVID lab was, now we just all agree that's where the leak happened, right?
I know, right? And at the beginning it was speculation. Was it this? Was it that? Is it a terrorist attack? Is it
shaming of conspiracy theory, and it got politicized, and we were and Trump was in the middle of like ending his candidacy. Like then we have like the January 6th chaos, and then we had like new Delta variant comes out, and we have vaccines rolling out, and Pfizer's incentives, and Moderna's mRNA, and like back to back crazy world events. I mean, I haven't even gotten to like the earlier tensions of Russia and Ukraine yet. I can't wait to get there.
Yeah. But
I'm on like episode 41 now. So in theory, I'm like maybe a year and a half in, because they didn't get it quite every week. So listening to them react to markets has like allowed me to connect dots, because I'm listening to these episodes back to back sometimes. So in one day I might get through 4 hours, some in the morning and some at night, of their content. And so my brain's able to connect this throwaway comment about the state of venture capital, and this throwaway comment about these angel investment incentives that are wrong, and this throwaway comment that's like what we're seeing in the stock markets, and over here what SVB was doing in banking, and how banking is actually correlated to the Fed. And you start to like go, holy crap. I knew it was all interconnected. We all know that as a generality, but we have no idea how. And so when you start to like just be more fair about, we're all pretty smart people. We can absorb information if it will just be like structured and handed to us, and like how these dots are connected. Well, I started to realize listening to these guys, late stage investing in venture capital, $200 million at a time, $100 million at a time, to get 12% of a company. Like, just that seems so risky to like your ears at first blush, until you realize, oh, they don't write that check until they already know the path and are going to help you on the path to IPO your company. They won't give you that check unless they can help you IPO your company. Well, and then we have all this data that says like the IPOs open at higher than these valuations. They know they're going to flip their shares in a year and a half, 2 years. It's not a big bet. Well, the person who runs a stage, a mid-stage, a Series B or Series C venture capital firm, they know that these late-stage firms are watching and ready to help companies go public. So they're going, is this starting to get to the stage where it would be interesting to the guys that will flip this to take this public? Because I'll flip it to them. So they'll buy 12% or 15% of it, and they'll be writing you a $20 million check. And they're only going to try to hold these shares for a year and a half or 2.5 years. And they're going to see this, and they're going to connect you. They're literally going to just pick up the phone and be like, hey, you guys should check these guys out, Sequoia. You guys should be taking these guys public. Yeah, we have shares. Yeah, we're super happy. Everybody in the value chain is risk mitigating and only holding shares for a couple of years. That's like the risk tolerance for everybody. So the early stage investors flip to the mid stage investors, flip to the late stage investors, flip to the public markets. So what does that mean? When the public markets start to trend down and we enter recession, which is affected by the Fed, everybody's incentives change overnight, because suddenly it is not risk mitigated, because I don't believe in 2 years or a year and a half, the acquirer will be there for my investment today. Nothing changed about revenue in your startup. Nothing changed about customer acquisition. Nothing changed about anything except for my path to exit just got risky. That's not the startup founder's fault. It has nothing to do with how you're operating the business. Money just dried up. So I've heard these like throwaway comments for years about, it's just really hard to raise right now. And I don't understand why. Just make a sexier startup, I guess. But actually knowing where the exit incentives are in detail helps you backwards engineer the perfect time to start which kind of company. It would be a terrible time to be a late stage or mid stage investment firm right now. Seed stage can still apply, because that, if applied to, let's say, an AI startup, is being rolled up by these private equity companies that might just go buy 10 or 20 AI small boutique companies at a time, and that's your new exit path. We don't know about IPOing an AI company. There's not really a strong precedent for that. So that new market, people are going to be slower to write checks for. So I think as we dig into content like that, and if you bring on experts who can speak to their side of it and then connect it to the other sectors, for example, COVID money, 1.9 trillion on one of those packages. It was something like a third of it made it to people, and 2/3 of it made it.
Yeah, it's
bad. Where?
It was really
certain
bad.
Parts of the market. Well, I'd love to check in on those parts of the market now and look at like which companies started right after that package, which companies blew up, and keep going.
Okay, I like that. I love the idea for the podcast. Actually, I really love the idea for the podcast. What you're talking about in that specific moment, learning how to gauge like, should I start this because I need to know when somebody would want to invest, if somebody would want to invest. That seems very practical.
Yes.
Even at that part, it feels a little too lofty. I feel like I would start lower and further in the weeds, because most people aren't there.
Yep.
But yep. I absolutely love the concept. You win the best idea of the day.
I will give you or anyone listening 1% of the value of an acquisition that Miramar buys, if anybody wants to be the lead source, and I can give detail. I thought today I would bring, this is my plug because it ties into the work I'm actually doing. But to your point, like the terms are where we learn. Like why and how and what. Define that for me. So I'll use my own situation as an example, and we can talk about incorporating more of this content later. But I've seen a bunch of different models in private equity and VC investing, and I used to run the team that at a private equity company, and my team's job was to spend $10 million a year on these obscure real estate debt instruments and make a return. We would pay our investors a fixed 7% return, or 7.25 or 7.5, depending on how long they would lock up their money. And we would go invest it and try to make a safe, stabilized 12 or 13% annual yield. If we could do that, we keep 5% annually of their money. So on a $100 million fund, that's keeping about $5 million. And that was essentially what you could call our gross revenue, right? That I wouldn't call the 100 million our revenue. That was our raise.
Yeah.
Well, now I'm into deal by deal investing. I'm not doing a fund. We'll take the capital partner side, and they want to invest in certain kind of business that I agree with. And if we have alignment there, then we go looking. So right now we're looking at HVAC companies or companies in the mental health business, or companies that are working on road infrastructure in California, or companies that are providing fiber internet but don't know how to market it in an Elon Musk era. Things like this that are infrastructure level or steady Eddie businesses, but they have a digital marketing infancy or immaturity, that becomes our opportunity to grow it. So the terms we came up with were, we'll give them a third down. We will ask them to carry a loan for us for 3 years, for 1/3 of the value of the business, and they keep 1/3 of the equity. So their incentives are, watch us grow it, because their 1/3 of the equity is going to be worth a lot more than today. They have to transition the power really well. As we get in a new operator of the business, a new CEO, we recruit that person over, let's say 6 months, and then they need to start taking over the reins. That's like a year-long process. So the seller has to play ball for a serious amount of time. So they need the proper incentives. This is normal in all of private equity. But we tend to make our valuations about 3x of earnings, of their profit, their annual profit. So we look at profit the last 2-3 years, we kind of average out profit, look at the trend, and then you triple that profit and you say, okay, so it stands to reason we would recoup our money or get the value of this business out after 3 years, assuming we can operate this well and you kind of get an easier life. Well, I talked to one guy who had a 17x exit. I talked to another guy who was entertaining a 10x offer for an AC industry business. I talked to several people who are getting 7 and 8x, but these deals are falling through. And it took me a little while to realize what was happening was the competition of private equity companies rolling these up against these boomer businesses, and they're trying to acquire them like hotcakes as fast as possible, just dumping money into acquisitions. Well, their models were to flip it, to roll them up into a single entity and then flip it to the public markets. Gotcha, America. Now Charles Schwab is taking your 401k and investing it in my roll-up of boring businesses, because that's trending and we all know that's good. But you don't realize we're not doing the math that like we're getting screwed as the non-controlling investor. Like we don't choose where our money goes because we've entrusted it to some brokers. And the public markets ride hype cycles. It's essentially awareness and marketing more than it is fundamentals of math. Well, these private equity companies cannot profitably flip those if the public markets can't tolerate it. If the public markets can't buy it at that multiple you want for your profit, then you're screwed because you're left holding the bag because you paid too much for these assets, and they don't kick enough profit off per year for you to not be upside down. And then there's this other additional factor coming into play right now for the next couple of years probably. They took out loans. These private equity companies took out huge loans, 40%, 50%, 60% of the money they'll have under management, they'll do in like a bank loan. So they have to debt service and pay that loan every month, just like your mortgage. The problem here is now if there's no buyer, it's like flipping a house. They tried to flip a house. They took a hard money loan and they couldn't do it in time. The market dipped. So now they can't exit their hard money loan and they're left holding the bad. They're going under. And it's going to affect the employees at every single one of those rolled up companies. There's going to be layoffs. The fund is not going to return to its investors. So I'm very happy with my, I guess, old school, hey, tripling your money is good. This is a simple thing. Investors should be able to triple their money. But how long do we want to wait to triple our money? I don't know. If you do it in 6 years, that's a 20% annualized yield. If you do it in 8 years, it's closer to normal. 10 years would be really conservative and reasonable. And if it takes me 15 years to triple my money, I'm doing something wrong. I just suck at this game. So somewhere between 5 years and 15 years is the effective range of tripling our investors' money. And the right type of capital partners love that conservatism because they've watched market cycles their whole life more than I have. I'm not old enough to have seen a bunch of these. So they're going, oh, you understand, stuff goes like this, and we're just making a plan that is reasonable. Welcome to a reasonable investment. What are we going to do? We're going to buy a reasonable company that kicks off reasonable profits. We're going to hire a reasonable CEO and add reasonable modern marketing. There's nothing sexy here other than the simplicity of everything's going to be done pretty good. That's what's sexy. Let's just do things pretty good. Anyways.
This is good. You've described private equity. I feel very well versed on it now.
Send me your boomers that want to retire.
Oh, really? Yeah. Honestly, I believe in global warming, and I think HVAC companies are probably the greatest thing on earth to buy or sell or anything like that.
That's great. That's great.
Yeah. I mean, think about it. Look outside. If you turn on your car inside of your garage, does your garage fill with smoke? Yeah. Okay. So eventually things get polluted. It doesn't just magically go away. It goes somewhere. Anyways.
I would love to get into carbon credits. Carbon offset credits are a structured finance for renewable energy. That's a whole interesting financial world. That type of content, I haven't leaned into it for Idea Drop because it's just not the thing that we're trying to do. But I feel very empowered the more I learn and connect those dots. And it might be hard to summarize, but in the long form format of these, that's discussion, question and answer, learning more. It's not that hard. It's not if you're talking to somebody who has the access to the actual information. So I think bringing on some insiders from different industries who could speak to it could be a really powerful show.
I like that. Let's talk about it. Let's get back to it. Unfortunately, I have to go now because the AC in this room doesn't exist and I'm going to die. As you can tell, I'm sweating everywhere. So
Did you know that Freon actually removes hot air? It doesn't blow cool air. It just removes heat.
I thought it compresses it.
Freon takes temperature and it runs it in that copper coil to outside where the fan blows on that copper coil to push it off. So it takes temperature. It takes heat and it takes it out.
I was always told, the Freon specific part. I thought it would intake temperature, compress it, and then compressed air, its air molecules actually makes it cooler. Bro, I don't know.
No, I'm not. Your homework is to Google it or ask ChatGPT.
Do it right now.
It's kind of amazing how refrigeration works by removing heat from the room or the environment, and it exports that heat to another place.
Okay, you ready?
So it should be 10 degrees hotter on your outside unit, blowing, or 20 even.
Okay, so works in 3 different ways. Evaporation, the air conditioner uses special liquid called Freon. This changes from liquid to gas inside the component called evaporator core. Blah, 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 blah. It absorbs the heat from the surrounding air in the room, cooling it down. A fan then circulates the air in the room. The refrigerant, now warm gas after the absorbent heat, is moved outside to another component called a compressor. Here, the air is compressed, which increases its temperature even more. And then it takes that compressed air and it releases the heat to the outside. So there you go. That's how you use it. Now you know exactly everything about it, and you should go start an AC or an HVAC
exactly
company.
Everything about it. Yeah, just brilliant. We did it. We know everything they know.
Dude, that'd be the worst company. Not to run, but to do the job. Ugh, I feel so much sympathy for those guys. Like, they're standing on these hot roofs in these houses that don't have AC. Oh, my gosh.
Oh, attics? Attics in the summer. Attics in the summer.
Brutal. Or in the Reading summer, even worse.
Now, I know you have to go, but I didn't tell you that I stayed in the most expensive suite in Disneyland.
Dude,
Resort.
no, you did tell me. You told me last week, and I talked about it with
sauna.
Andrew. I'm jealous of you. I want to go. I haven't been to Disneyland in years, and you just piqued that interest again.
Oh, my gosh. Yeah, it was an upgrade. We paid for a $900 room, which was just going to get us 2 queens.
That's great.
And they gave us a $4,500 suite because they were
amazing.
Overbooked and they wanted to make our day. And so
I love that.
there was a sauna in there, and that sauna did 120 degrees of steam.
Mosquito.
And that is, that's just crawling in an attic. So you actually get the benefits of a sauna, get those toxins out.
Yeah, everything in the wrong context. You know how like dirtiness is just matter in the wrong space, right? It's the same thing with life. So like if there's dirt and there's dirt on the inside, it's dirty. But if there's dirt on the outside in the sandbox, it's normal. It's okay. Purity cultures work like this, right? Sex in the wrong place is called impure. It's not good. It's just in the wrong spot. So I think saunas in the wrong place, I'm not going to call it good. I'm going to still call that bullshit. And it's terrible because I don't want to be hot in the wrong spot. Just like I don't want to work out when I'm not in the gym. And I want my house to be cool and not a sauna.
True. And I don't want to live in a place that's related to Satan's armpit, which is pretty much a quarter of America. But
yeah, it's so humid out here. I didn't realize it'd be this humid. It's like I'm living in Asia again.
Good luck, my friend. It's so nice to see you. Until next time.
Until next time. Bye.